Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Michael B. Still fighting the gunk a little bit, so if my voice rasps out or it drops off a little bit, I ask for your forgiveness. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen today. I truly appreciate you being here. This is the Anatomy of the Modern Romance Scam, a podcast series where we break down how these scams really work, how trust gets built, how manipulation happens, and how people are pulled into financial traps before they even realize it. I know this because it happened to me, and it's devastating. My goal is very simple: to pull back the curtain and expose how these scams work so you can recognize them before they recognize you. We had a little blow up in my family this weekend, so I want to shift gears a little bit. This episode is for people who surround the victim, because when this happens, everyone impacted is a victim. From the outside, this looks obvious. How could you fall for that? Why didn't you stop? Michael, why didn't you say something? They're all fair questions. But from the inside, it didn't look like a scam. It didn't feel like a scam. It started with the simplest of messages. I really liked your post. Hey, I'd like to talk with you more about that. That was it. The gloves were off, the game was on, and I had no idea. And from there, a relationship formed. Not fake, wasn't forced, it felt real. The connection, all the conversations. Later on, the attention. They mirror you and match you, okay? Showing you exactly what you want to see. With AI, they can do it. You want pictures of this? Here I am with this picture of my fish, my motorcycle, whatever it is. They can do it, and they will match you. The grooming doesn't start later. It starts with the very first hello. Every conversation has a purpose: to pull you closer and closer and closer emotionally until the relationship begins to matter just as much as the real ones in your life. And by the time something feels off, that attachment is there and it's strong. That's the part that's hard to understand from the outside, because emotion and logic don't operate at the same time. They don't operate at the same level. And in these scams, emotion wins. Maybe your loved one wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't. I was completely secure in where I was. But I thought that I found a way to build something, something enduring for myself, for my family, for this person's family, for the future. The dreams become shared. They become just as strong as the relationship, and it feels real. And with the money that you think you're making, they seem possible. That's why it's hard to walk away from these. Okay. But again, remember the one simple rule. This isn't my rule. This is the FBI's rule. No one is going to teach you cryptocurrency over the internet. It's as simple as that. If someone reaches out to you about investing or asks you for money over the web, no, no, run. That's it. Those are the rules. Those are your rules. Just take them as they are. Okay? But run. Because when you get ghosted, when it's over, that's when the questions come. What were you thinking, Michael? Why didn't you tell me? That's tough when that's coming from your spouse and the tears are rolling down her face. And the truth is, there often isn't an answer that makes sense. Because what happened wasn't logical, it was emotional. And that gap, seriously, that gap, and this is very key, between emotion and logic, that's where these scams live. It's where they live. That's why they proliferate. Okay? Now I want to reel it back and talk to somebody who's been directly involved in one of these. Maybe you're at the end of it and you understand what you've done. Maybe you're in the middle of it and you're not quite there, but I hope this helps. And maybe you're looking at this. Maybe you got that first message. Delete it. Block that person and walk away. Okay? Because afterwards, the impacts do not stop. They keep showing up in ways you don't expect. Conversations about retirement, plans that were supposed to happen, and the quiet realization that for you and your family, those plans have changed. Moments where your spouse has to get up and go to work, not because they want to, but now they have to. Or maybe you're making a mortgage payment on a house that was already paid off. That stings. But the loss doesn't end with the money. The losses continue to show up in relationships. Your trust is not the same. Conversations are going to feel very different. Something is strained almost always, even when no one says it out loud. And then there's the one part that no one really sees except you. Every day, wondering if you can forgive yourself. I wish you luck with that. I'm still feeling down the wall myself on that one. And wondering if my family ever will forgive me. Now, families are meant to endure, okay? The way I believe is that families are forever. But something like this tests that. And if the relationship with the scam isn't broken cleanly and completely, the damage just doesn't stop. It spreads. What I hope this does, what I hope these podcasts do, what I hope our continuing conversations do is help create an understanding. Because understanding is where forgiveness can begin. And forgiveness is where healing starts. Mistakes were made, serious mistakes, and the repercussions are lasting. But those mistakes don't have to keep growing. Not if understanding takes hold, and not if forgiveness is allowed to take root. And these scams don't happen because someone was weak. They could have been, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they were. It happens because these are engineered. And when they do happen, everyone is impacted. Everyone is affected. Not just the victim, the families too. If you're trying to understand this, start with this. It felt real. And that's what makes these extremely dangerous. Thank you for listening and for spending a few minutes with me again today. This has been the anatomy of modern romance scams. These are difficult for my family to listen to. They're difficult to record. If this episode helped you better understand how these scams work, please consider sharing it with someone you care about. If they resonate with you, please pay attention, because awareness is one of the most powerful tools that we have to prevent others from becoming victims. Join me next time when we take the next step. We'll continue to break down the mechanics and see how these start and feel how they might actually work. Until then, stay aware, please stay protected, and always, always stay safe. That is your peace. That is costly when you lose it. This is Michael B.